health is so much more than what we're putting on our plates and weighing and measuring. And sure, there's a time and a place for it, but it's not just that. It's like if we're thinking negative thoughts about our food and we're just like, oh my God, I really want to eat, peanut butter and chocolate and ice cream and have pizza, then I believe that you should allow yourself to do that because that's part of health. Part of
Mm-hmm.
health is the allowance of, um, this is what I want and honoring what it is that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Having, I would say there's a kind of a couple yes ands in there, like you emotional eating is a thing. And
Yeah.
at a core, it's like health is how we put our life together. It's the choices that we make. And so what determines if we're like healthy or not is less about what we do in those 6 week periods, what we do in those 12 week periods, even what we do in like a 3 year period.
What's up, you beautiful beasts? I'm Katie. I'm on a mission to help humans become their favorite versions of themselves and to strive for overall health by healing their relationship to food and exercise, healing their relationship to their body, and most importantly, healing their relationship to themselves, all without ever having to step on a scale. I have had the privilege to talk to all kinds of different humans who have been through a plethora of experiences just being a human and existing. I believe that every single time someone shares their story, at least one person listening will learn from it, be inspired by it, and maybe, just maybe, even change the entire direction of their life. These are the stories of humans unveiling their beautiful beast. Keep listening. This is the Unveiling the Beast podcast.
Well, welcome to the Unveiling the Beast podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for saying yes.
Yeah.
Can you tell me and the listeners a little bit about who you are and why you think you are who you are?
That's a great question. My name is Bethany Kowo, and I am honestly, I want to say I'm in a transition of who I am, so maybe this is really timely. I am a nutritionist, I am a coach, I work in holistic health, and predominantly right now, as I move myself and my identity, I am in the women's space, kind of moving into how health is a prerequisite to healing. And I am really passionate about curating communities of women where health and healing are, let's say, normal, quote unquote, normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like what we do, it's who we are, instead of it having to be a thing that we do for like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and then forget about it and then have to like circle back a year later, 3 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later. And so who I am in that is a woman who has decided to dive in. And over the last 5 years, I've really gotten to know myself in a way that I didn't even know was possible because I didn't ever really think that anything was wrong or bad with the way
Mm-hmm.
that I was living or what I was doing. Um, and so now I'm the facilitator of those spaces because I want women who are like me to who like women who are like me in the sense of women who are looking around thinking like, oh, I've never had like a big trauma or I've never had anything really like wrong with my life. I went to school and did all the like right things per society. And
Right.
and I'm not really sure where to go next, but I'm feeling really unfulfilled in my life and I know that I can do something bigger and better, but I have no idea where to go, or maybe they even don't have an awareness that that's what they need because I didn't. So I facilitate these spaces because I want to be able to create the space for people to be seen in those feelings because I believe they're feelings.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I love that the way you talked about health and healing in my mind, I pictured like this dance. Like
Mhm.
I almost like the twist up ballerinas where they're like, "Ee," like it's just
Yep.
but if you can you go more into what you were talking about, how health isn't just a 6 week thing?
Mhm.
Because I'm very big on like I grew up thinking health is only what you eat and how you move.
Ah,
And if you're overweight, it's only, well, just eat less and move more. And man, that's not true. But that's
yeah.
just like how we all think, and the way we all think about it, it's common sense, even though it's not even the truth. And so
Mhm.
I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I share that in that I used to think it was just like how you eat and how you move. And then, um, I don't think I considered mental health as a part of health until maybe a couple of years ago because I just didn't have any experience in it. But you
Hmm.
know that some people will say like they just have this knowing. So I was coaching nutrition and coaching health and coaching wellness, but I always knew that there was something more and something bigger. And so until I started learning about Ayurveda and seeing health as a lifestyle in a way that it was written out or the way that it's like philosophized, that gave me some more insight to my knowing. It gave me more like words to my knowing. But I think I've always known that health is more. I know that health is the way that you move, it's the things that you think. Health is
Hmm.
what you eat, but it's also what you think about you, like what you're eating. And so,
Yes.
yeah, right. And so,
Yes.
what I always go into with like often women, but I work with plenty of men as well and have plenty of men in my life who are like, it's like they have the perfect diet according to what we think the perfect diet is, right? And I say
Mhm.
this jokingly, but I think this is true for many people. It's like steamed broccoli and chicken and rice with a little bit of lemon on it and a quarter cup of this and weigh this and measure this. And I always say like if you're eating that and you're like mother effing it, it's not that's not it. Like you're not you missed it. Right?
Yeah.
Like health is so much more than what we're putting on our plates and weighing and measuring. And sure, there's a time and a place for it, but it's not just that. It's like if we're thinking negative thoughts about our food and we're just like, oh my God, I really want to eat, peanut butter and chocolate and ice cream and have pizza, then I believe that you should allow yourself to do that because that's part of health. Part of
Hmm.
health is the allowance of, um, this is what I want and honoring what it is that you want,
Hmm.
having I would say there's a kind of a couple yes ands in there, like you emotional eating is a thing. And
Yeah.
at a core, it's like health is how we put our life together. It's the choices that we make. And so what determines if we're like healthy or not is less about what we do in those 6 week periods, what we do in those 12-week periods, even what we do in like a 3 year period. And I think it's important to know even like what was the healthiest time of your life because even that as a period of time, it's like, well, what else was happening? If people looked at my story and would see me in photos when I was 20 and I'm like, going to the gym and I'm jacked and I'm ripped and I'm also behind the scenes, like drinking the most that I've ever drank in my life. I'm the most miserable and lost and sad that I was in my life. I had the worst relationships of my life, but it's like, oh, I looked good. And so now I look back and I'm like, do I even look good? Because I can see behind the look. And
Yeah.
so, again, like health becomes like all of it. I think it's so much less about what we even look like in that case, but we can look to what else was I doing at that point of my life when I believe that I was healthy? And I think if we actually were able to reflect on that question or more people reflected on that question more, they would see that where they might be believing that they're their healthiest is in fact not the case.
Yeah. I feel like we have a lot in common
Mm, good.
because it was my 20s when I was doing all the things too, and over exercising, under eating. I
Hmm.
was I called it my divorce diet because I went through a really nasty divorce really young. And
Mm,
and my healthy addiction, which is what I called it, was working out and the whole scene, everything that you were describing.
yeah.
Um, I was also drinking a lot,
Hmm.
and I don't know, it's just, and I still, in that, I did not like my body. Like I still thought I was fat. I was like the thinnest I've ever been. And I still thought I was fat.
Totally.
Oh, body dysmorphia. It was so
Yeah.
but like you said, like you look back on that person that we used to be, and it's like, whoa, that no. It's
Hmm.
because only we know what was, like you said, what was going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And to the outside world, oh, she's losing weight. She must be healthy. When in fact, I was like losing my shit,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I relate to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing too.
Yeah.
I I really try to not comment on other women's bodies for many reasons, or anyone's body for any many reasons. But one of them is that in this work and being in the wellness and health field, like I know that if I comment on a woman's body who is actively not dieting but actually has an eating disorder, that's not seeing them, number one.
Right.
But also it's like you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I've sat with and talked to many women with eating disorders, active eating disorders, who say, like, yeah, and then people tell me I look good all the time. And I know that it actually hurts me to hear that, but there's somewhere inside of me that is like, oh, yeah, good, good. And I'm like, oh my God, it's heartbreaking. And
Yeah.
so when we can, um, I don't know, not project onto other people what we
Yeah.
think is beautiful or not, or, yeah, I think there's so much around like just those kinds of conversations and how we backhandedly influence people and create environments that health is not a part of.
Yeah.
So
So tell me, are you open and willing to go kind of deeper into your story just to share
please,
with listeners?
yeah,
I mean, this is the podcast
always,
of stories, so
yeah,
yeah. So like where did where did it all start for you?
yeah.
And how did it change into yeah, how did it change?
Okay, so my story, my identity story is about high school. I went to an all girls Catholic high school, wore a uniform, did the whole deal. But I recognized as I was in that high school that women had eating disorders. I wouldn't have named it back then, but it was the
Mhm.
first time in my life that I had been exposed to eating disorders. I had been exposed to people who were skipping lunch, choosing diet soda, all of these things that I didn't grow up around in my household because my grandparents all had some sort of disease, diabetes, heart disease, basically you name it, you got it. And so I grew up in a house where we didn't like add salt and we didn't have sugar. And I always when I talked about my story, I always say like I ate hummus before it was cool and I have eaten way too much oatmeal in my life. Like that's my MO. When I would drink soda when I was little, it was like if anybody remembers like the gold can of like diet, caffeine free, sugar free
Oh, yeah.
soda where it was like it's literally just like brown seltzer, I guess. Like before we knew about food dyes. And like so that was my childhood. So I grew up like eating apples and carrots, but in a way that still like I had McDonald's once a week when I remember my mom would like bring us to school and we'd be like, okay, special treat, we're gonna go to McDonald's. So nothing was ever vilified or shamed or like food was not a source of guilt so far as I remember. It was also not a source of restriction. And I don't ever remember as a child my body being commented on or shamed or like, you have to be like this or you have to do that. And my parents were both not like that. My mom didn't really exercise, but my dad did. And so I have all of these like health, what I would call like healthy things around health and diet. And so when I got to high school, I was like, oh, what is this? And I didn't know what it was. And when I
Yeah.
figured it out, I also recognized that I was influenced by the women that I was around because, you're in high school from 8 to 4 or whatever it is. And I started to see like, oh, okay, this is what needs to happen to be cool, to fit in. And this is what these people are doing. So I'll do it too. So by junior year, I started to restrict my food and I started to skip lunch and I started to um, just do little things, make rules for myself. And then I decided that I wanted to help these women by going to school to be a dietitian. And when I got to college, I was like, wait, I don't want to work in a hospital because it's not actually helping the women in my state, when you become a dietitian, it's just very limited as to like how you can support besides like tube feeding people or going to old people home or like to be an eating disorder clinician. For me, it was a little bit too far of a reach or it just wasn't in my awareness. And so I decided in the state of Connecticut, I don't have to become a dietitian. So I decided not to. And I ended up working at a personal training facility. And then, long story short, I've been working with bodies personal training. Now I do yoga, but in the field of wellness for the last like 15 years. And so through those 15 years, I have sat with my own disordered eating behavior. I've sat with other women who are kind of going through it. And my moments of, I guess I look back on those high school years and that knowing that I talked about earlier. I look back and I was like, well, I knew something, but I don't think I ever would have known the capacity of like where it's gotten me today.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna fast forward through that health thing. Maybe I can come back to something later on, but there was a lot that went on. But in my 20s, I worked in health. I've been coaching people, I've worked with people one on one, but I could never connect to writing diets for people because I was like, it doesn't work. Like, I know that I grew up eating healthy by just choosing carrots and choosing apples and having protein and sometimes having pizza and sometimes having McDonald's. And like, it was okay. So in my heart, I've always known that, like, no, you actually can have what you want to have. So I was connecting with some clients, and my style of coaching was more like, okay, when people get it, they get it. But if they don't, like, I really have a hard time explaining it to them. And what I realized later on is that, like, I just didn't know how to hold space for people's experience. And so when that more so came into my awareness, like holding space just in like facilitating spaces where I'm not trying to change you, fix you, I'm not trying to convince you of anything that you don't already know. Um, that was the major change for me. And that's really only been in the last like three to 4 years where I recognize like my capacity for health from a food standpoint was pretty big. But to circle back to like mental health, emotional health, my vision was pretty narrow. And that's how I grew up. That's how, grew up in more of like a blue collar, like middle class kind of area where people are kind of have their ways. Not good or bad. It's just like what my experience was. So when I got the words for like holding space, that I could expand myself into the emotional, into the mental, started going to therapy, sat in some plant medicine ceremonies, really just kind of explored the whole spectrum of everything. And then I realized that it's not what I want to do. I don't want to talk to people about their diets because it's not what is actually needed. This whole time, I've actually just wanted to connect with people on a deeper level, and it just tends to be when I'm good at and gets reflected to me a lot.
Hmm.
And so and so it's and
And
so
so
now I
dot
sit
dot
and
dot dot dot.
yeah, and so dot dot dot. It's interesting. Like it's almost like I don't have the words because it's still unfolding, and there are so many layers to the story, and I can go deeper if you want to know about any of them, but there's a lot of layers to the story where I've recently, in the last few years, recognized that it's truly not about, like, I was never seeking my own health. I have obviously, like many women, gotten into the trap of thinking like if I look good, then I'll belong. And if I look good, then I won't be rejected. And then when I started to gain weight, which I know is now know and believe is very healthy, and become a woman, right? What does that mean? And then the male gaze and then the patriarchy, and we can get like fully involved in all of that. But at the core of a lot of my stuff was this emotional disconnection, the disconnection from my body. And the fact that I have attracted women in my life who I think have looked to me for the confidence that I have, but I thought that they were looking to me because I was attractive, because I was always told that I was pretty and I have a big butt and I have a good hip to waist ratio. And I could always kind of like, yeah, like, not get overly inflated by that, but it's there.
Yeah.
And so when I started to dive deeper, it was like, oh, I've just been afraid of being rejected. I want to belong. And like, who do I want to belong to? And a lot of safety, security, kind of root stuff started to arise for me.
Hmm. I love the deep connection piece because I think as a coach, if we can't connect with our clients on that deep of a level, then we
Hmm.
won't be able to help them as much. And I always say, like, my job is not to give you answers. My job is to help you find the answers that you already have. And
Hmm.
I can't do that unless I connect with you and get to know you on a deeper level. So I love that you bring that up too, because I think connection is also part of health.
Hmm.
That's a big one. It's,
Hmm.
toxic relationships will, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. The
Tell
connection
me,
is
yeah.
for me. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, tell me your thoughts on that. And yeah, we're good.
Yeah, I agree. I think connection as a piece of health, community as a piece of health is so vital because we're not, to me, we're not meant to be humans alone. Like we wouldn't be, on earth with all of these people around us if we were meant to be alone. I think that the
Mhm.
soul, if you want to go there, that this, excuse me, the soul is this solo thing, but we're a unit. We come from one. We're meant to be here together and we're meant to co-create and we're meant to collaborate, and that is part of living healthfully in your body, in your mind, in your spirit. And I think there's even tons of evidence that backs this up, that mental health and community, mental health and connection, shame. I know like Brene Brown does a lot of research on shame, and it's like when you can name the shame inside of you, you're naming it to somebody else and yourself, and that is
Mhm.
what can support eliminating the shame and the guilt, is just being able to name something. And so we
I
have
like
other
that.
people, right? Like even believe like we're talking beings. We use words because it's a connection point. Just like as we can like look into each other's eyes, but there's words for a reason where we're here. And that's part of health, is like sharing and using those words to express yourself, using your voice. Um, I also believe that when you're talking about being a coach and the deep connection, I think that for me, that's what makes a good coach. That's what makes someone, that's the difference between just like the coaching armies that are out there, that you could take a certification just like anything else overnight. You could take it over the weekend or you could take it over a year. But if
Hmm.
you lack a deeper connection to yourself, if you have an unwillingness, whether it's in your awareness or not, to go deep within yourself, I think that's usually the piece that can be missed, or that's where the coach itself can have more expansion and that the clients don't experience as much expansion because you're limited by who you're working with, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, in my coaching community where I got all my certifications, we call it informational coaching versus transformational coaching. And there's nothing
Mm,
wrong with
I like
either
that.
one, but the transformational coaching is where you go deep. And uh, the coach that where I got my training from, he coined the term neurotransformational coach, where it's like it's the changes you make are like physical changes in your body in order to heal. It's so
Hmm.
awesome. So
Yeah.
yeah, and again, you could also do like a mix of both. I kind of do informational and definitely transformational, but and there's nothing wrong
Hmm.
with either one, but if you want your clients to really get the results that they want, I
Yeah.
say for transformational.
Yeah. Right. And
Yeah.
it's through the body. And that for me has been like so much of my story, that I have consistently exercised. I've somehow moved my whole life. And I know that when I don't move, that's part of the times that I get stuck. And it doesn't mean I have to exercise, doesn't mean I have to do yoga all the time, but just my connection to my body that I receive through physical movement. I don't think that everybody has to do that. But the connection that I receive through the physical body, through the meditation, through just feeling like, oh, my toes are cold. Oh, okay, I have this sensation here, and being able to connect to that and being
Yeah.
willing, because it's vulnerable when we live in a world that tells us to stay in our heads, and they're not telling us to stay out of our bodies, but if you're telling me to go one place and not the other, then
Right.
um like I think that when we can get out of our heads and more into our bodies, into our hearts, that's where that transformational coaching and transformational experiences can happen. And I've had the pleasure of doing it a lot through breath, like through the modality of breath work, like through food in my
Mhm.
in my work, but through breath work has been one of the biggest. You had asked me about a aha, like, or like a big moment, and it's like learning breath work and then learning about the connection to myself, those have been my big moments in all of it.
Yeah. I'm glad you bring that up because my coach was actually talking about that yesterday, about how like just breath work alone helps you connect to yourself because you're forced to pay attention to your breath. And
Mhm.
in 4,
Mhm.
you're like reconnecting mind and body instantly, and it's fascinating.
Yeah. Do you do breath work?
I try to remember to, yeah. It's a
Yeah.
new thing for me, so
Oh,
I'm still
cool.
trying to like incorporate it. But when I,
Amazing.
sometimes I'll just sit here and like, I'm okay.
Yeah. It's- oh my God. They're like doing it with
You're gonna
kids
be
in school now,
okay.
and I'm like, that's so sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really powerful tool because I mean, there's so many levels that you can do it, whether it's actually I like what you said, informational versus transformational, but it's
Mhm,
informational and transformational with breath work and somatics, like how we move through our bodies and how we live in our bodies. And you can
mhm.
follow that breath through pretty much every part of your life.
Yeah. Well, I have one more question for you, and
Mhm.
I ask at the end of every episode, and I just recently started asking it differently. So you're still one of my
Fun.
guinea pigs. Um, if the entire world stopped what they were doing and looked at you and said, "Please give me some advice for my life," what would you say?
Mm. So good. I would say that I'd probably share them the story because I'm a storyteller. And my story would be that one of the most powerful things anybody ever told me is that you can only expand into the light so much as you expand into the dark. And when I was young, when I was, 25, almost 30, and I started to do this transformational work, truly, I was a happy person and I was a joyful person. But I recognized that if I was already this happy and joyful, what more could I have? Because I hadn't gone into the darkness part of that spectrum. And so as I started to navigate into the darkness part of the spectrum, I realized how much more love I could receive, how much more love I could feel, how much more joy and beauty I could experience. And I hope that you are brave and courageous enough to do the same.
Beautiful beasts, Bethany Kowaleski signing off. Until next time.